hope you are all doing fine. Today our video lesson will be dedicated to preparation for our English language examination. In our textbooks we have a special block in our national textbooks called Exam Bitesize. And today we'll work on pages 271 to 272. So your attention to the blackboard. But first of all, what parts does our English language exam consist of? Yes, there are 3 parts to it: reading, speaking, and listening. So let's begin with reading. So here we are. And when you just receive your task, you should pay close attention to the task itself, what it says, like here in the book. Read the article and say in 2-3 sentences what it is about. And also the footnotes. In this text we have the footnotes. I've put them down on the board here. And also the specific active vocabulary with transcription. In this text, we have only the footnote for this, but I believe that it's worth revising the geographic names. So the most difficult ones are here on the board. For example, here the pronunciation is Hanover Messe, Ганноверская ярмарка. Here, have a look at the transcription, Saudi Arabia, and the Czech Republic. There is also a great word used in this text, proactive. You will need it to give the answer to one of the questions. So, what do you think proactive is? Actually, it's a person, you see the root is active, who is not responding to the events, but who is predicting what might happen and anticipating them. So, after you work on the vocabulary of the text, I strongly recommend you to pay attention to the second task, because it is the easiest. You need to find out and read out the piece or the part of the text which speaks or describes this or that. It might seem easy for you. I know that you all can read well, but nevertheless, still practice. Make it sure that you have all the stresses and the intonation is right, as well as the pronunciation of all the words. After that, 2 more questions, 3 and 4. Here, please, when you get your task at the exam, you are not allowed to underline anything in that text, though you can take the notes which you need on the draft copy, which you will also get. Nevertheless, still, you are not allowed to read from your notes when you give answers to questions 3 and 4. They might be of some help to you, but please remember, no reading, only speaking. And only after that, when you prepare, you can say what the text is about. But please, there is no need to retell in detail what it is about, in 2-3 sentences only. So, and once again, when you start working on this task, I advise you to first get acquainted with the task, the questions, and the vocabulary which is used there. Okay. Then, as for beginning, how to start answering. You see, I've prepared kind of a whiteboard for you. Yes? It will be a great sentence which will impress the examiners if you start by saying, the text I have read, entitled, for example, here we have no title, so then you don't need to mention this, is an article or an opinion column or a story. Yes? Then your first sentence is ready. After that, you might continue. It describes, shows, presents, explains, and so on. So I'll put it here for you as a reminder. So it is a great phrase, a great sentence to start your answer with. As for listening, here in our national textbooks, we have the CD. Yes? So, and you can listen to the task, which is task 2, and the questions. Once again, you will be allowed to listen twice. That's why when preparing at home, follow the procedure so that it is familiar to you. So the first time you listen, you don't take any notes, yes? You just listen and make it sure that you understand the gist of the story. So the second task, when you listen specifically to the answers to these questions. You're allowed to take notes, but once again, when you afterwards comment on what you've heard, you shouldn't read your notes. It is, and you should be speaking, right? You can glance at them, but still, don't read out. Don't stick to your notes. And the answer, when you start answering here, you begin with, I have listened to a radio program, an interview, somebody speaking about. How can you learn what to say here? It is all in your task. For example, here in task 2, it says, listen to a radio program. So that's why, if I were you, I would start with, I have listened to a radio program describing, and so on. So, once again. And finally, task 3, speaking. Let's talk about international contacts and cooperation. You will always have 5 questions to answer. So, but in your exam sheet paper, in the exam sheet, there will be only the beginning phrase. Let's talk about international contacts and cooperation. What about the rest of the questions? You will hear them from your examiners. But now, while preparing for your exam, all the questions are given. So you should spend maybe 2 to 3 minutes answering the first 2 questions. The first question here, do you have friends in other countries and how do you communicate with them? So it is a speaking task. After that, we have 4 more questions. But whenever the examination card will be, one of the questions will be for you to ask the examiners some questions and to give advice. Let's talk on this specifically. So, here it says, what questions would you ask your friends from abroad about their countries? Have a look. If you want to demonstrate that you are good at asking questions, I strongly recommend you to ask a variety of questions. Let's revise what questions we wrote. So, here they are. So, the 5 types. Have a look. The general or yes or no question. For example, are you from an English-speaking country? A special question. For example, what site in your country would you recommend me to visit? A tag question. A lot of migrants have moved into your country recently, haven't they? An alternative question, is it better to visit your country in winter or in summer? An indirect question, I wonder if, for example, could you tell me why? So, if you're able to ask, so please remember that you should be asking questions on the spot. There will be no time for you to get prepared. That's why practice asking different questions here. And you will be also invited to give some advice. Here we have the task to what sites in your country belonging to World Heritage would you advise a foreigner to visit, right? So, and I'd like to remind you that when we give advice, the beginning for it can be like that. So have a look here. You should, you ought to, how about, pay attention that if you use this structure, then we use the gerund form. If I were you, I would. It is advisable. It's a great idea. Why don't you? Now, when talking to you, I have also used some of them. So, how many pieces of advice should you give? The more the better, but at least 3. Yes? And it's not necessary for them to be too long, but if you're able to give at least a sentence or two of explanation, it would be perfect. And also we have two more questions, two more tasks. What do you know about international festivals in Belarus? And what do you know about the activities of our country on the international arena? So I understand that these are not the easiest ones to start speaking on, but you, before giving answer to these questions, as it is your home task, please have a look. If you can read or revise about international festivals in Belarus on pages 200 to 51 and 200 to 53, here in our national textbook. So let's recollect. So you have 10 minutes when preparing for your oral answer, 20 minutes to prepare for the reading task, 10 minutes to prepare for the listening task, and half a minute to prepare to start speaking, because it is speaking on the spot. It is not so easy, I understand, to just start speaking right away, and you know, practice makes perfect. That is why if you are interested in developing your language, and as for me, it is very helpful before I start using English to listen to the native speakers. I like this site, this program, BBC Learning English, 6-Minute English. They have a lot of dialogues which last for 6 minutes on different topics. So before you speak yourself, why don't you listen to one of them, answer the questions which are given there to warm up before start speaking yourself. Good luck, and I hope that this video lesson will be helpful. And once again, I want you to revise how to prepare for your exam.